Welcome to the Pooch Parenting Podcast, a podcast for parents with dogs. I'm Michelle Stern, a certified professional dog trainer, mom, and former teacher. Living with kids and dogs at the same time can feel like a circus. I know because I lived it too. Join us as we interview a variety of experts and parents to discuss topics that will make parenting with dogs easier, safer, and less chaotic. Also, you can love living with your dog again. I'll always keep it real, which might even mean that you hear the messiness of life in the background on occasion, but at least you know you're not alone. This is episode 6 of the Pooch Parenting Podcast, and in today's interview with Trisha Case of Trailblazing Tales, we talk about how to teach young children to be respectful of dogs and puppies. I hope you enjoy. So I want to let you introduce yourself to our people. And while you're doing that, I want you to explain what is behind you, just in general. And then what we're going to do is we're going to dive in and talk about kids and teaching kids to be respectful of puppies and new dogs.
I am Trisha Case, and I own Trailblazing Tales. It's a bit alliterative and a tongue twister. Trisha with Trailblazing Tales. I have been in business for nearly 16 years, and I started originally as a dog running service in Los Angeles. And then from that point, I was able to branch off. My husband started residency here in Oregon. And so I started another branch in Portland about 9-10 years ago, nearly, and have since dropped services and focused strictly on products.
Yes.
So I've been working pretty diligently for about the last nearly 5 years. Actually, it's been 4.5 years, learning or honing my leash building skills and really learning what this communication tool truly means between a handler and the dog. And through almost 5 years of lots of exploration and testing, I'd always had this philosophy that this is the one piece of equipment that we have to communicate with our dogs when we are out of the house. And so what I thought a good leash needed has become something what I think a lot of people have decided they need as well, is something lightweight, exceptionally lightweight, so that the level of communication is higher. Also, because we live in the Pacific Northwest, I particularly live in the Pacific Northwest where it rains quite a bit. The elements, Mother Nature, is sometimes not so kind. And so I wanted a product that didn't make my car smell like wet dog all the time. And I found this material that happens to be made and it's designed, manufactured in the United States of America in Ohio. And it's called Biothane. It is a wonderful product which simply just wipes clean. You can sanitize it super easy. I can drag it through the dogs can drag it through the mud, and I can put it under my faucet and it's clean.
Which I have done, by the way.
Never smells, which is amazing.
It doesn't smell.
And also the leash that Michelle was discussing is one that is made of it's a premium coating for the Biothane. So it's much different than your standard coating that people are more familiar with. The standard coating can get a little slippery, and it has a nice texture and feel to it. But the premium coating that I use is grippy, and it's buttery soft, and just gets softer and softer with time. It's so tactile, which also for lack of finding better words, I feel that the biofeedback between the dog and the handler are just slightly different than the normal coating.
I agree, because I have some long lines that are Biothane that are not yours, and I don't like to use them. The only time I use them is when I'm at the beach, because otherwise it just gets wet and heavy and sandy and they rinse off, but they're slippery and they're not soft in my hand. Yours, on the other hand, it almost feels like leather, where it's just buttery soft. It's incredibly supple. I can use all my cool leash holding tricks. So I have security. So if I'm not paying attention as much, it does not surprise me or slip out of my hand ever. And it is lightweight enough that you've seen Pippin. He's a little dog. He's not
How much
weighted down. He's 15 pounds.
Good to
And
know.
he's not weighted down with a heavy leash on his harness at all.
Right.
He's like, and I love it. And I need to get one of your long lines. I will be ordering one. The other ones,
Well, Merry Christmas, lady. You just tell me what you want, girl.
oh gosh. Anyway, yeah, my other ones are yucky, but yours, I honestly, I love how they feel in my hand.
Well, thank you. All of the material or all of my products are made with solid brass hardware so that you can have this leash for a lifetime. And unfortunately, we wish our dogs lived a lot longer, but hopefully you'll have this for longer than your dog's lifetime. So
yes, that would be really good.
Yeah.
All right, well, let's get into sort of the meat of this, so to speak. So tell us how old your kids are, and some of the beginning strategies. If you were adding a new dog to your house and you've got kids your kids' ages, what are some ways that we can encourage them to be respectful of a new dog? How do we read their bodies, and how do we make sure that there's consent all around? Because I feel like lately I've been seeing a lot of posts on Facebook in my group about kids who are constantly picking up the puppy and not asking the puppy for permission, and then the puppy is starting to growl. How do we deal with all that stuff from your perspective?
There's a lot of questions there, and I think those are all really, really great questions, and ones that I think every parent needs to ask themselves before they bring the dog into the house. So establish what the children are going to do when the dog comes in. Establish what the dog's going to do when the dog comes in. Boundaries are not only your best friend, but they are a requirement for bringing any new animal into your home. Children have to have a space that's completely off limits to them, that only the dog is allowed to go to. The crate is number one. A lot of children, I see it quite a bit, where kids crawl into the crate and they think it's fun, and parents think it's all giddy and cute, and I do not. As a professional, I think it's dangerous, and it's setting a really bad example, because if in fact the dog is in the crate and a child decides to crawl in there with the dog, that's a dangerous scenario, and a recipe for that.
Yeah.
So that should be the dog's safe space. So I think the number one, if you're bringing in a puppy, you should always you should be prepared with a crate, number one, because that will be the place that your dog will sleep, will eat, will rest. I also think an X pen is a magnificent management tool, especially so when you have a young puppy. Because they can't knock it over. But once the puppy, gets to be of a larger size, like my dense little black lab, who can just, we call her Bulldozosaurus because she's a big giant, and that waggy black lab tail and butt just knock everything over. So confinement, I think setting up established boundaries and places within the home for your children. And also that means that, there are spaces in your home that are going to be off limits for your dog, and they're only going to be on limits for your children. So your children have to have those established boundaries as well. My children are 4 and 7. I have my 4-year-old will be 5 in February. So I guess he's getting, but when the puppy came in, he was definitely a 4-year-old little rambunctious boy. So with my 4-year-old, because I've been doing this for so long, he just came into a world where I talked about dog all the time. And I don't just talk about dog. I'm deeply, deeply passionate about what I do. And it's not just something I talk about 9 to 5. This is a 24-hour a day conversation that happens in our home. And especially so when you have dogs and kids, because you have to have this conversation. There is so much redirection with both your children
and the
dog.
Yes.
And I'm talking your 7-year-old, my 7-year-old, and my 4-year-old. So and your puppy. So there is a massive, massive amount of redirection that's happening. That should be like your number 2. Well, no, that should be number 3. Number 1 should be boundaries. Number 2 should be prevention. Boundaries and prevention can kind of be lumped into the same ish, but they are different. And then your third is going to be what was my third one?
Redirection.
Yeah, redirection. So the redirection, it's just if you're a parent, you're going to be used to it because you have to do it so much so with your toddlers.
Try this instead.
Yeah.
Try this instead. Oh, let's try that instead.
Yeah, let's not, because if you're gonna punish your child constantly for, like, this is the example that I give all of my friends, family, clients. One, I'm very adamant about reminding every pet parent that their dog will never, ever exceed the intelligence of a 1.5 or a 2-year-old child. And never. Your smartest dog in the whole wide world, Chaser, who just did Chaser just pass, or her owner did a couple years ago. But even Chaser was, she could identify thousands of toys, but she's never going to be smarter or more intelligent than a 2-year-old. I'm gonna say 2, because 2.5 even feels a little too old for me.
Yeah.
So that's a big reminder. And I think that also there's a cognitive development that happens with your puppies and your children that are so similar up to a certain age, that our dogs explore so much similar, or so similar to our toddlers, with their mouths,
Yes,
with their paws, with their voices, with their bodies. They don't have the communication tools that are developed enough to, like, tell us certain things. So we really have to watch their bodies. So setting both my children and my puppy up for success was really important. So we had very established boundaries in the house. And because I do what I do, I'm always bringing up pictures of dogs, and my children are, I very much put it in front of their face, and I say, hey, can you tell me what this dog's body is doing? And just having them identify certain, like, what is that dog's ears doing? And they know what their ears flat, when a dog's ears are flat, they understand what it looks like, because I've explained it to them. But things maybe even more simple, like, what is that dog's tail doing?
Yeah, you have it too. I know you do. Yeah, baby. We're twinsies.
What is that dog's tail doing? This book is, I caught my 7-year-old. She stole it from me. I was like, where the heck's my book?
It is gold.
It's so golden. It's so golden. I mean, this
is fun for adults, and it is amazing for children. It gets kids excited. We can, like, play detective, like, how's this dog feel? Let's turn it into a game. It can be table talk, dinner conversation. I mean, this book is, and a shout out to Lily Chin, who wrote it, because she is not just an illustrator, but she worked with so many dog trainers to get photographs to model these on based on real dog behavior. So talking about this with your kids is huge, because, as you know, if a dog is feeling a certain way, then their behavior follows, right? So can you give us an example of that, of, like, a dog feeling maybe worried, and what that sequence of events might look like?
So I think this is key, because we have a lot of we do a lot of confinement, and I don't want that term have such a negative connotation with it. And I want to take that negative connotation away from confinement, because when I say confinement, one, we want to have a safe place for the dog and the children. So we should call it a safe place, not a confinement. We'll call it a safe management tool.
Safe zone, yeah.
Safety. So we have Bridget, for instance, I'll have Bridget tethered to the wall, because she's a bulldozer now. And if I tether her to a piece of furniture, she's going to take the dang couch all the way down the hall.
My service puppy did the same thing. She moved the whole kitchen table. So that was off limits after that.
So now we have a little whatever that thing is, that will roll into the wall, so that she doesn't pull the couch through the hallway anymore. But to give you an idea of what it might look like, is what worried might look like is, let's say she's eating her food and my 4-year-old decides that he's going to walk right by her, and there's a very, small window of space that allows him to do so comfortably.
Mm-hmm.
Or my 7-year-old, it doesn't matter, right? They're just walking around their home and they don't
Mm-hmm.
they're not thinking about it in the
Right.
same terms that we are.
Mm-hmm.
So if they're walking by her and you can see her start to crouch down, you can watch her body slink
Mm-hmm.
and get small. You might see her look up and you see that whale eye.
Mm-hmm.
Those are pretty identifiable, or the tail might be, not tucked, but really low. And the ears might be flat. So those are all like really quick indicators for children, because those are pretty easy to identify with many dogs. There are plenty of dogs, like your pugs, your brachiocephalic dogs. Those are going to be a little bit more challenging to identify.
Yes.
Which is another reason why I really love this book, because she models it after, is it Bogey?
Mm-hmm.
And Bogey,
The Boston Terrier.
little brachycephalic dog. So she's got lots.
She faced with a little corkscrew tail.
Yeah.
Not a lot to
And
go
the tail too. So it was hard for my children to grasp what that meant, because my old boy, who's 13, Sonny, is an Aussie Border Collie mix who has no tail.
Mm-hmm.
That's much more challenging, not just for humans, but for other dogs too. So Sonny didn't have the same communication tools with his buddies, with his canine buddies, or his human buddies that Bridget does.
Mm-hmm.
Because her tails are pretty telling.
Yeah.
And by telling, I mean that people have to understand what that also means, because just because a tail is wagging does not mean that dog is happy.
I'm so glad you said that. Yeah. Wagging tail can have lots of meanings. The speed, the pitch, all of it. Is it a slow sweeping, like they hit themselves in the face on the other side? That's a good one. We love that whole whack. That's a whole different kind of wag than, this or
up and that. And so really, I think that was a big one for us when Bridget came in, because really having them identify outside of just tools like this, I also made my tool here.
I love that. I need to link.
So my children are actually, this is Aurora, that's Aurora and Sunny, and that's actually Orion and Sunny. Yeah. But mine's a lot different than, Lily's a master. This is
but yours are photographs too, which is what you see in real life. So I like that.
They were able to quickly identify what a tail, an unhappy dog or a worried dog's tail might look like. Yeah. Because they didn't have that experience prior to having Bridget come in the house. Mm-hmm. So we had lots of very well established rules and guidelines before we even got the puppy. Mm-hmm. So having designated areas sectioned off, lots of baby gates. And thankfully, we're lucky because our house is like super sectioned off. You can shut every door to every room, almost nearly every room. So we're able to do a lot of confinement without having baby gates or exercise spaces or things of that nature. Yeah. But I'll tell you a few of the other things that I think are going to be really important for families. One, when I say you need to truly weigh out if this dog is, or puppy, because it doesn't matter if you get a rescue or a puppy, it's a new creature in your home. So really understand what kind of responsibility that's going to entail. Yeah. You can't set your children up for failure, right? We don't want to do that for our dogs either. And we're also going to not set our children up for failure by giving them responsibilities that are far too large for them at a young age.
I am so glad you said that. Your kids are not going to walk the dog.
No,
you
should not allow your children to walk the dog.
Right. Yeah. It's not safe.
My 7-year-old begs me on a daily basis to walk Bridget. Mm-hmm. So I do. I let her walk her in the backyard on a leash. So she knows what it feels like when Bridget sees a squirrel and decides, oh, I'm going to take my 50-pound dense body and I'm going to throw you to the ground, little girl.
Yeah. Or God forbid into the street, or God forbid the kid lets go and the dog goes into the street.
Yeah. So those are all, and these are like responsibilities are One, you're the parent. You are 100% responsible for that dog. You are 100% responsible for your child. You cannot give that child 50% responsibility for that animal until they're like a teenager.
Yeah, I agree.
And you have to understand your teenager as well, because I'm not going to just turn over a dog to a teenager and expect them to do the right things when they don't know, when they've never been given the tools to do the right things.
It depends on the teenager, right? It's
right. So
know your kid, know your dog, both of those
it's
things.
very individual. It's very relative to every family and every child and every dog, because you might be able, I mean, I could easily turn Sunny, who's 13 and walks like a champ and isn't reactive and all those, all those things he's learned how to do a walk without, reacting.
Right.
I can easily hand over the leash to Aurora, who's 7, and know that that's going to be a safe walk. But guess what? I still don't do that.
Right.
Because I don't think I want to set a really good example in my neighborhood.
Right.
And I don't want anybody to see a 7-year-old walking a dog, because it's not acceptable.
Right. There's the one caveat that I have to that is when I put a little cheat on it, and we can use 2 leashes, or you have your leashes have all these hooks and attachments, but yours, you can add extra handles, right? Yeah. Or you can add even an extra little length, right? But I'm a big fan of a 2 leash situation where what we do is we let the kid think that they're walking the dog, sort of, and you let them know that you have them safe, right? That we do this together.
Add an extra leash on, and they can hold the handle.
Yeah. And then they're helping, and they can start to learn leash skills, and we can talk about, oh, do you feel the pulling? Okay, what are we going to do about that? But it is, you're holding the pressure, the weight of the dog is on you. It is not on your child, because it would be so easy. Sonny's a big boy. He could so easily just yank somebody into the street, even though he's too old and well behaved to do it, but he could. I know my 70-pound dog could easily take out even me if she wanted to. Right. I mean, I'm 5'2", and she's, huge. So, but yeah, your leashes are perfect for that. Not to keep promoting your leashes, but it is absolutely true.
And stay tuned for like, I really want to bring in kids into this.
Yeah,
and we need to start again before we even get a dog. I also think that there's a part of me that wants there to be like a class in school about dog body language and how to respect animals. I just even a 1-hour class when the children are malleable and they're of an age where they just soak it in, because they take that information and they talk about it. And another tool that I found to be really beneficial, and I'm going to show your folks here.
Oh, I think I know. Let me see if we do it again. If we're twinsies a second time. Let me see if I can find my apps. Yes, I have it too. Where is it?
This is an absolute favorite for my kids.
Yay!
Jill did a really, really good job on this website, and my kids take this quiz regularly. I mean, regularly. And Lily did the graphics to this too, I think.
Yeah, she did.
She's done most of the graphics in our industry. So the same person that did the graphics for this did the graphics for this.
Yeah.
And this is you can just see, like, there's a couple of those that can be a little tricky, and it helps the kids really like think about.
Oh yeah. Like some of this is one of my favorites. The tongue flick really is one that really surprises most people, that that a dog who,
they're just looking, they're hungry, or
they're just licking their lips like we would do if we had chapped lips or something, but dogs don't do that. So good. I'm so glad you pointed that out. I love that app.
And my kids take the quiz. It's pretty daily. My 4-year-old loves it. And he asks Aurora to tell him which word is what word so that he can press it right.
Oh.
So, and I think it's really, and they just don't get a lot. Until the pandemic, they didn't have a damn tablet or technology except when we were on an airplane. Things have changed quite dramatically.
But even just think of the language acquisition skills for looking and describing. I mean, this is the teacher in me that I can't help but bring this up all the time. Like, we call these teachable moments, right? That as we talk about things, we're using language that our kids are absorbing, and we're giving them the vocabulary that they can then use to describe certain circumstances, I guess, and how they're feeling, how's the dog feeling. And then Orion learning to recognize words, and Aurora being able to help him with that. I mean, the language acquisition there is, that's a beautiful thing.
We have to come up with another hands-on way for the kids to do it too. So there's, you and I are going to have to like really delve in deeper and find something super incredible.
No problem. Yeah.
A great product for these kids, because they are sponges and they want to learn. It takes us, it takes the parent like actively giving them scenarios and actively pointing out, so number one, it takes parents understanding dog body language to be able to do that. And I think as a working professional of many years, I think that we have been fed so much misinformation, and the interwebs has so much misinformation. I mean, at the tip of your fingertips, you type in dog training, and I guarantee you the top 5 things that come up on that internet are terrible and dangerous. And
dogs act worse than better. Yeah, I know.
So people are just getting the wrong information. And I really feel that if we have to be loud about, it, but in a really positive way. So I think the way that we can be loud about it is, one, kids are pretty loud, right? And they want to learn. So we can be loud with the kids about it.
Yeah.
And those kids are going to go tell their friends, and they're going to tell their parents.
Well, we need your song is what we need.
I'm working on it, girl.
I need your song. And once your song is out, my people are going to hear your song.
Well,
because it is so good.
I have a friend who's an amazing singer-songwriter, and I've already written the song, but I really just want her to like come in and like put some, like sprinkle some fairy dust on it.
I know, but it's already good.
It to be really good. I don't want it to be just like kind of good. I want it to be like, I want it to blow people's minds. I want it to
will.
I didn't know that. Or wow.
Because then you can be loud with your kids all singing the song.
And people will listen because they have to.
And it's a killer song. So
it's going to be hooky and it's going to get in your head.
I know. Because you sang it to me in the car. So get on it.
Years ago.
It was a long time ago, but still.
It's been a while since I
loved it.
On that.
I know. This has been really, really helpful. I appreciate your help so much. And what is the website where people can go to buy these amazing leashes and your interaction guide with safe kids and dogs?
They can go to my website, which is www.trailblazingtails.com. And it's Trail, it's TRAILBLAZING, and it's tails. TAI.
Did I get it right?
Yeah.
I got it right. Yeah. Okay.
Tails.com.
Okay, good.
And so there's under my educational content on the website, I don't just have the interaction guide for sale. I actually have every single page on there for free download too. Because the information, I feel that I really want to bridge the gap between the scientific dog world and parents and being a parent and a lay person. It's like there's so much.
It's really good.
It's so dense, and it needs to be easier. So I wanted to make it nice and easy. And so if you go to the educational content on the website, you can find lots of different infographics there.
Well, I'm going to share that link also so that people can go get what they need, whether it's information or tools that they can walk their dogs with their children safely together. And take good care of your hands because it feels so good.
Oh, thanks.
Really good.
If you haven't already, please subscribe to the Pooch Parenting Podcast on iTunes or on the podcast app of your choice. If you're looking for ongoing support for your family with dogs, be sure to get on the waiting list for my Thriving Parents with Kids and Dogs membership at www.safekidsanddogs.com. And don't forget to follow Pooch Parenting on Instagram or Facebook. Thanks for listening.